Greg from Facebook writes, "Why are you acting oblivious to other options? It is garbage like this that fuels the two-party system. Vote Gary Johnson." And in a later comment he adds, "I would love if we had an amazing over-the-top candidate to elect for president. But this is the real world, and Gary Johnson is a sensible, rational choice. Saying none of the above is going to accomplish nothing. What will it accomplish?" First of all, Greg, thank you so much for writing. I appreciate your thoughts, and I share with you, whether you believe it or not, a frustration with the two-party system and the kinds of candidates that it's given us in this election. I think we have a lot more in common on this issue than you think. However, I think you might have your critique turned around just a little bit. Let me tell you why I think that. First of all, you have to admit that unless you are Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, we're all in the same boat as candidates running for president in this election. The candidates chosen by the Republican Party and the Democratic Party have an incredible advantage. Parties in our country function by creating compromise and consensus before the election takes place. And most people find a natural home with either one party or with the other. And as a result, candidates from one or the other party usually win a plurality of the votes. That's how the electoral system works here. If you want to learn more about this, look into something called Duverger's law. Law not in the sense of a law passed by a legislature, but law in the sense of a scientific law. It's something that political scientists wrestle with to understand why it is that we have two-party systems and why third parties don't seem to work very well in some countries. Now, whether you're Gary Johnson, Jill Stein, myself, or any of the other candidates who are running for president that are not one of the two major party candidates, we're all in the same boat. We all face two parties which gather more of the votes of the population than anybody else. If you look at it that way, there's really then two major reasons why you might suggest that someone vote for a third-party candidate. One is because they honestly, truly love that candidate. And if you look through the videos I've made, if you look through the different things I've written, I repeatedly say that if you like Gary Johnson, if you like one of the other candidates, by all means, please vote for them. The people that I'm running this campaign for are the ones who don't find a candidate that they can actually honestly, ethically feel that they can support. If you go to those people and say, vote Gary Johnson because it's going to help defeat the two-party system, I've got a problem with trying to strong-arm people into voting for candidates they don't believe in just because of some outcome that might happen. And I feel that way whether it's Donald Trump to stop Hillary Clinton from getting elected, voting for Hillary Clinton to stop Donald Trump from getting elected, or voting for Gary Johnson to stop the power of the two major parties. Moment of sober truth. If you look at the polling results, casting a vote for a third party or independent candidate is not going to get your candidate elected. It's a function of the way our system works. This is a set of responses to a Reuters poll about how big a chunk Gary Johnson and Jill Stein can take away from the two major party candidates. And Gary Johnson is coming in at what you could see as a fairly respectable 7.7% of the population. That is where there is a big difference between what Gary Johnson or Jill Stein or any of the other third-party candidates are trying to accomplish and what this none of the above campaign is all about. I know that I can't get enough people to vote for me as me to get me elected. However, take a look back at those numbers from Reuters. When you add together the categories of would not vote, Gary Johnson, don't know refused, Jill Stein, and other, what do you see? Adding those categories together in this poll leads to 30.9% of the vote. Now, yeah, that's still less than Donald Trump is polling in this poll. That's less than Hillary Clinton, but do you know what? That's 30.9% simply based on taking together all the people that don't want one of those two major party candidates. The main difference between asking people to vote for Gary Johnson to fight the two-party system and asking people to vote none of the above is that there aren't enough Gary Johnson supporters or people that you can turn into Gary Johnson supporters. But when you take together all the people who want to fight the two-party system by voting for Gary Johnson, or fight the two-party system by voting for Jill Stein, or whatever, even the people who are going to stay home because they don't think that there is a vote that they can cast that means anything. When you add all of those together, then you get a number that is respectable. You get a number that looks like the numbers for the major party candidates, and that would probably grow even more if people came to realize this was an option. Greg, you ask, what would voting for none of the above accomplish? I think the question really needs to be turned on its head. What would voting for Gary Johnson accomplish? Really, in the end, it wouldn't accomplish much of anything. He will still be the person who probably comes in third in the polls and will not get any electoral votes. But the more we encourage people to come together and cast a united vote of protest, what I'm trying to do with coming together around the idea of none of the above is that we can actually create a sizable, visible, and meaningful confrontation with the two-party system by showing just how many people are dissatisfied. More than just the people who want to vote for Gary Johnson, more than just the people that want to vote for Jill Stein. Altogether, how many people wish things were different? Suggesting people vote for none of the above does not perpetuate the two-party system. If anything, voting for a third-party candidate does, because it takes away from the idea that all of those who are dissatisfied can come together and make our voice heard together. Yeah, some of us like Gary Johnson, but he's not going to get elected. Some of us like Jill Stein, she's not going to get elected either. But what we can say is altogether how dissatisfied we are with what the system is giving to us. And it's not until the system has to confront that altogether that we can really honestly expect to see change take place. And that is what I think voting for none of the above can accomplish.